Hello, my name is Amber Ballinger, and today we'll be discussing one method of performing research. The method that we'll be discussing today is called ethnography, which the University of Virginia defines as the qualitative method for collecting data often used in the social and behavioral sciences. This method was originally used in the field of social anthropology, but was later introduced into the field of sociology. Social anthropology relates more closely to the historical aspects of human nature and society as it developed, while sociology more closely relates to human behavioral aspects of society, especially at particular times or in specific environments. This method is considered important since it researches aspects of human culture within certain groups or certain organizations. And this is because culture evolves over time, contains dominant cultures and subcultures, and is subject to its own rules, rites, myths, and symbols. Ethnography is considered a useful method within research due to its ability to study how participants behave or interact in certain environment settings on their own terms, which allows for different aspects of the participant's culture to stand out for observation, and it allows for the researcher to look for patterns in these behaviors or ideas. It also allows for a deeper understanding of community ideas and their perspectives. All of this leads to a greater understanding of human behavior as a whole. Stuart Hannibus, who is an honorary chaplain at the University of Aberdeen, made a statement about ethnographic research, which says, "Ethnographic research allows us to regard and represent the actors as creators as well as executants of their own meanings. The very way in which they tell us about what they do tells the researcher a great deal about what is meaningful for and in the research. It adds richness and texture to the experience of conducting research." Ethnography can be used for a different variety of academic and professional uses. Some examples of this are different types of market research, as well as environmental and background studies. And since ethnography revolves around the observation of different groups or organizations, it can be used for different types of participant observation, such as consumer, academic, or personal observations, as well as specific cultural studies. And ethnography can also be used for data collection for different projects, products, or different types of developments. For example, if a company is marketing a new product towards moms for their children, you would want to do ethnographic research on the category of mothers and what ideas and perspectives are important to them and what products they feel would be useful in their everyday life based on the observations that a researcher would have when interacting with a mom for the study. There are a few things that researchers can keep in mind when using ethnography in order for their research study to be successful. One of those things is to be mindful of the time commitment that ethnography has. Since the research has to be done mostly personal through interaction and observation, the study will take more time than collecting, for example, survey data or other numerical statistics. And it's also good to be mindful of the place. So because of the studies having to be observational, the researcher will actually have to travel to and from the places where they're observing, which is good to keep in mind. And another thing is a researcher should be observing all aspects of the environment that they're in, as well as the behavior and interactions that the participant has, such as different conversations, personal experiences, morals and ideas, location, background, etc. A researcher also needs to keep in mind that there's a difference between what is said versus what claims are being made. A participant may not always be able to verbalize the thoughts and feelings that they have, so a researcher needs to keep this in mind, that their ability to form ideas and experiences into words may not always convey the exact information that they're trying to get across. A researcher also needs to be respectful when observing the participant and also allow for open communication in order to get the most thorough results. And they need to make sure to listen and observe rather than speak and share so that the participant has a better quality of conversation with the researcher. There are a few limitations to this research method. For example, because this research method relies mostly on observation, it has more patterns than actual quantitative linear data, and it's difficult to narrow down and categorize large amounts of observed data and narrow it back down into specific claims or ideas. And it requires more personal interaction than some of the other research methods out there. So for the researcher, it requires more effort, and they have to count in travel, personal investment, and length of time of the interaction and the observation period. And it also relies on the researcher's own understanding of the data that they gather from observations and interactions. There are also a few ethical issues. So the researcher needs to make sure that the participant knows that they are being observed for a study, because if not, it can be considered an invasion of privacy or a method of deception or disruption of a personal life. So a researcher needs to make this very apparent and needs to be clear about how their research is going to be used so that there are no complications further down the line if the participant has an issue with how their observations and how their interactions are being used. Here, I will discuss two specific examples of two different studies about ethnography. One ethnography article discusses Chinese marine animal theme parks as an ethnological observation. And the idea behind this is that theme parks are especially popular in China, and having a marine animal theme park where marine animals are up on display in abnormal habitats shows the relationship of the Chinese people between nature and culture, and nature versus man-made. And having the animals on display in this way creates the idea that animals are viewed as entertainment in China, and all of the park diagrams and mascots that depict the animals at the theme park are aimed to make the animals seem friendly and approachable. So this is a symbol for the actual theme parks that people in China that attend these parks have this idea that they carry with them about these theme parks and about the animals that they see. And these aesthetic exhibits and the close proximity to the different animal displays also mimics the societal idealizations of the middle class. And having these really abnormal, not natural setups where people can come see the animals has this unrealistic environment that generates a certain common response and behavior from the people that attend the parks. So they feel drawn to go look at the animals, stand close to the different exhibits, and try to interact with the animals as much as possible because of the layout of the actual theme park and the behaviors that they're used to when they attend these theme parks. Another ethnography article talks about roller coaster rides and the idea of looking at the screens that show pictures taken during the ride. And riders feel attracted to look at the screens when they exit off of the ride, and they still have an exhilaration from the ride, and it's meant to create a shared experience of looking at the pictures and still feeling that residing excitement from the ride. And it encourages a behavior from the riders to potentially buy the pictures that they're seeing in order to keep feeling that feeling of excitement and adrenaline. And it becomes a tradition or a common practice of riders when they exit off the rides to look at the pictures, because everyone else has become so accustomed to the idea of coming off the ride and immediately being presented with screens showing exhilaration and excitement and all of the feelings that they want to keep with them coming from the ride. And it also creates a self-observation, self-recognition of the riders trying to pick out where their picture is and where they are on the ride. And it spurs a common commentary of different aesthetics and appearance. Look at my face, look how scared I am, look how excited I am. And so all of these non-similar guests from different backgrounds are sharing this same experience of looking and commenting on these pictures. If you'd like to know more or look into more specific information, here are my sources that I used for my presentation. Thank you.